This is the Honor Magic4 Pro, a high-end flagship that has been out for a while in China, but now has gone global. Unlike Huawei devices, Honor's phones bring Google support, so the Magic4 Pro could be a strong competitor even in Western markets. I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's see if it has what it takes in our full review. The Honor Magic4 Pro is a camera-centric flagship, and it looks like one. There are 3 cameras plus a variety of other sensors on the back, all arranged into an eye-catching circular design that Honor calls the Eye of Muse. The phone is made of glass with a reflective mirror-like finish. It's a bit of a fingerprint magnet. The back curves into a narrow frame, making the phone feel thin in the hand, even though it is on the hefty side at over 200 grams. The Magic4 Pro brings proper ingress protection too. It's IP68 rated against water and dust. On the front of the phone is a 6.81-inch LTPO OLED display with a QHD resolution and an adaptive 120Hz refresh rate. The screen is not just curved, it's quad curved. It tapers into the frame not only on the sides like you'd expect, but at the top and bottom bezels too. As always, curved screens aren't for everyone, and you have to get used to it, especially with gesture navigation. The LTPO technology means that the display can go from a smooth high refresh rate when you're interacting with it down to as low as 1 Hz when it's idling to save energy. In this dynamic mode, however, you'd actually rarely see it go up to 120 Hz. The home screen seems to want to stick to a maximum of 90. You can achieve it through the dedicated 120 Hz mode, but then is not adaptive anymore. This display also provides 1920 Hz PWM dimming. Brightness is adjusted with an extremely fast modulation frequency for people who may be sensitive to the traditional PWM at lower brightness levels. Speaking of the brightness, when it comes to max output, the Magic4 Pro is quite competitive. We were able to measure 550 nits maximum with the manual slider, and this boosts to an excellent 960 nits in auto mode. One nitpick though is that we wish you could find the auto brightness toggle in the notification shade instead of having to dig into settings. As far as the display's quality goes, it's quite sharp at 460 ppi, and contrasty too thanks to the OLED technology. Colors are decently accurate depending on the color settings you dial in. And there's HDR10+ support, as well as the ability to enhance SDR content to HDR in Netflix and YouTube. One thing that people might not be fans of though is the cutout for the dual selfie cams. This pill-shaped punch hole houses a 12 megapixel camera and a 3D TOF sensor. At least it's a bit smaller than the one on last year's model. There is an option to hide it too if you find it too obtrusive. And thanks to the TOF sensor, you get 3D face unlock, which is much more secure than what you'd find on most competitors. Still, it wouldn't work with the mask on. Alternatively, you can use the ultrasonic under-display fingerprint reader. It's rare to find both of these solutions together on one device, and they work quite well. For audio, the Magic4 Pro has a stereo speaker setup. While there is a grille at the top of the frame, it's for an echo chamber. The top speaker is actually the earpiece. Overall, these speakers are among the loudest we've tested, and on top of that, the sound quality is some of the best we've heard from a phone. You get pronounced mids, clear highs, and pretty good bass too. The Honor Magic4 Pro can come with 256 or 512 gigs of storage on board, but it's not expandable. The interface of the phone is Honor's Magic UI 6 based on Android 12. If you've used Magic UI or Huawei's EMUI before, you'll probably feel right at home. Magic UI 6 provides quite a few customization options, including themes, styles, and icons. You can also choose between keeping your apps in an app drawer or all on the home screen. You can also swipe and hold from the left or right edge of the display to access shortcuts, which will open apps in a floating window. Of course, one of the main upsides of getting an Honor phone like this one over a new Huawei is that here you get Google services and the Play Store, and support for all of the apps that exist in this ecosystem. You also get recent Android features like a privacy dashboard, which collects all of your privacy options into one convenient spot. Honor is actually taking privacy and security quite seriously. There's even an independent security chip, and it's in charge of protecting your passwords, biometrics, and payment information. You can see this in action through the private space feature. It sets up a locked and secure space for your sensitive materials, including apps, files, and passwords. At the heart of the Honor Magic4 Pro is the current flagship Android chipset, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. As expected, you get excellent performance here, in line with other high-end phones. And whether navigating the interface, multitasking, or gaming, the Magic4 Pro is blazing fast. We did measure thermal throttling in our testing though, so sustained performance isn't as stable as what you get on a dedicated gaming phone. The Magic 4 Pro brings the same 4600 mAh battery capacity as last year's model. The battery life is lackluster, with an endurance score of just 82 hours in our battery life tests. At least it sort of makes up for that with advanced charging. The phone comes with a huge 100-watt adapter in the box, in contrast to some other manufacturers which don't give you a charger at all. With the bundled adapter, we were able to charge the Magic 4 Pro from 0 to full in half an hour. And on top of that, the phone also supports 100-watt fast wireless charging. This charging pad is sold separately though, and so is the 135-watt adapter needed to make it work at max power. You could power it with the phone's bundled charger, but in that case it would only go as high as 80 watts. But anyway, with the maxed out wireless setup, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 78% in half an hour. Finally, we are onto the cameras. The Magic 4 Pro has a 50 megapixel main cam with OIS, a 64 megapixel 3.5x telephoto with OIS, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide cam that can take macro shots. On top of that, there are a few other sensors: a DTOF sensor which provides depth mapping and laser autofocus in low light, an anti-flicker sensor useful for video recording, and a color spectrum sensor. The main camera delivers outstanding daylight photos. Detail is impressive, and there's also moderate sharpening, low noise, and excellent dynamic range. Colors are on the saturated side, and contrast is quite strong, but the photos are very likable. The great performance is even consistent in less than ideal lighting conditions, such as indoors. Portraits from the main cam and depth sensor are pleasant. They're a little on the softer side, but you get enough detail and good dynamic range, and the separation is mostly accurate. The telephoto's zoomed photos are excellent in quality. There's an impressive level of detail, and you get the same vibrant colors and wide dynamic range as the main cams. Our main concern though is that when zooming, the Magic 4 Pro will often switch to a digital crop from the main cam for no apparent reason. You'd need to fiddle with it to make sure that you're getting optical and not digital magnification. Performance from the ultra-wide cam is great, with plenty of resolved detail and punchy colors. These are plenty sharp too if the lighting is good, but in less than ideal conditions you will notice some softness creep in. The dynamic range is good, but the more contrasty scenes may lead to some loss of detail in the shadows. Since the ultra-wide has autofocus, you can use it to take close-up macro shots. The focus at these distances can be hit or miss though. When it's on point, the results are highly detailed, with plenty of color and sharpness. In low light, the quality from the main cam is flagship grade. You get good sharpness and nice colors and contrast. We are fans of the dynamic range as well, with controlled light sources and preserved shadows. The overall detail level is good, but could be better. It seems to have taken a hit from the noise reduction. Turning on the dedicated night mode doesn't have a huge effect on the already stellar dynamic range, but you do get a little bit more detail. Unfortunately, there's also additional softness, so sticking to the auto mode may be your best bet. The telephoto zoom does a nice job at night with good sharpness and detail and excellent dynamic range. But again, you will often end up with a crop from the main cam instead. Night mode doesn't make a huge difference in the quality, but at least it doesn't make things softer. In low light, the ultra-wide cam's performance is a bit underwhelming for a flagship. Images come out fuzzier than they should, soft even. Other than that, they retain nice colors and a good dynamic range. Turning on night mode adds a bit of detail and some extra sharpness, but the result is still far from ideal. Let's talk about selfies. The 12 megapixel camera is an ultra-wide one, and it crops its photos to provide 3 different zoom levels. We were impressed by the quality here. There's a great level of detail, good sharpness, and nice looking colors. And exposure of the subject's face is on point. Selfie portraits look good too, but even with a 3D TOF sensor, messy hair can be a struggle. On to video recording, and the Magic 4 Pro brings some special features this time around. You'd normally be shooting in 4K in either 30 or 60 FPS, as the phone lacks 8K recording. What it does have, however, is a new IMAX enhanced 10-bit log format in 4K up to 60 FPS. This supports 3D lookup tables with plenty of presets on board to choose from. But even the regular 4K footage from the main cam is excellent in quality. There's plenty of sharpness and detail, wide dynamic range, great contrast, and no noise. Colors are different from the stills, with a more natural looking rendition. For some reason, zooming in for video recording defaults to 5x, which is a crop from the telephoto's native zoom. This footage is less sharp than the main cam's, and the dynamic range is narrower, but the quality is still pretty good. The ultra-wide's 4K video is decent. It has lower sharpness and detail, and dynamic range is narrower, but that's expected for this sort of camera. So that's the Honor Magic 4 Pro. It doesn't come cheap, but it brings all the bells and whistles that you'd expect from a high-end flagship phone. All that's left is to compare it to other flagships, and what makes this one stand out is its great speaker quality, ultra-fast wired and wireless charging, nice selfies, and secure face unlock. There are competitors which can offer better battery life and a more balanced camera experience, but still the Magic 4 Pro is an excellent phone and it's easy to recommend. Thanks for watching guys, stay safe and see you on the next one.